Hello, so this is for the subject risk management and the topic for this video is loss control. So chapter 16 to dun sa ating online resource. The link is in the video description. Okay. So itong loss control, di ba pag nag-materialize yung risk, merong, of course, consequence, merong impact sa company. Normally in terms of financial consequence. Either may babayaran ang company na damages or compensation to parties that have been involved or ang tawag doon, yung naagrabyado kumbaga. Okay, or nadamay doon sa pag-materialize ng risk. Or the other one would be loss itself, yung sa halip na makabenta, yung company is hindi natuloy yung bentahan, either nag-withdraw ang mga customers or umayaw ang mga clients kasi nga gawa dun sa nag-materialize na risk. Okay? So, ito, dito sa chapter 16, loss control, paano ba i-manage ng company? Diba? Yung possibility nitong loss control and how would they try to reduce or to minimize yung losses na isa-suffer ng company. Okay? So again, this is a risk matrix natin. Di ba, we have risk likelihood and risk impact. So, yun naman talaga yung dalawang considerations. Or dun sa risk likelihood, could also be described as risk frequency or gaano kadalas na pwedeng mangyari or mag-occur yung particular risk na yun. Okay? Pero again, itong libro na to, they'd rather not use the word frequency kasi para siyang nag-occur on a regular basis. Okay? So, kung baga, yung ginamit na lang niya is risk likelihood. Okay? Tapos, again, we have two levels, yung inherent niya, saka yung kanyang current level. Okay? Kapag wala pang controls, inherent level. Kapag na-consider na yung effectiveness ng control, so current level of risk na siya. Okay? For hazard risk, pwedeng gamitin to determine lang naman yung kanyang risk likelihood would be yung history niya, no? Historical data on how likely the risk is to occur. Okay? Tapos, ayan. Example niya dito, breakdown ng car. Yan. Preventing vehicle breakdowns and whether the maintenance activities provide value for money. Meron kasing instances na, of course, you have, hindi lang naman vehicles, you have machineries, you have equipment used in production, and syempre, meron tayong wear and tear. Habang ginagamit mo siya ng mas matagal, mas napapadala siyang masira or mas nangangailangan siyang i-maintain, repair, ganyan. So, as long as yung cost of repair or maintenance is mas mababa dun sa nagiging benefit nung paggamit, patuloy na paggamit nung PPE na yon, either machinery, vehicle, or equipment, kumbaga yun yung value for money na tinatawag, kumbaga worth it pa na i-repair or i-maintain yung equipment. Kasi kung mas napapadalas na yung pagpaparepair sa kanya, tapos mahal na yung maintenance, papansin mo mas madami na yung ginagastos ng company compared dun sa na-produce or nako-contribute nung property na yon, nung machinery, equipment, or vehicle sa profit or sa sales ng company. So, in that case, mas magandang dispose na natin yung property na yan, bilhin na tayo ng panibago. Okay? Kasi of course, yung mas bago na machinery, equipment, or vehicle, most of the time, mas mababa yung maintenance pa niya kasi bago pa eh. Saka yung repair niya, medyo mababa pa din kasi bago pa lang eh. Ayan. Tapos, another thing, benchmarking the performance of the fleet against the average performance of the industry. Okay, so sometimes you have to also consider ito. Baka kasi mamaya ay, ito kasi ay, ano ba to? Transport company, let's say bus or airline, or yung sa ship, mga cruise ships or cargo ships or whatever. Kailangan ay, benchmark mo yung performance. Let's say how many flights could be made yung isang aircraft, how many hours in operations, or pagdating sa equipment naman, how many units can be produced using this machinery or equipment, how many miles a month ang pwedeng i-run ng isang particular vehicle or transport equipment, ganyan. So you can check yung benchmark or average performance in the industry to check lang naman kung within that number ba yung performance nung ginagamit nyo in your operations. Okay? Okay, tapos itong kasunod, effect of control measure on the magnitude of the risk. Okay, yung magnitude, parang impact siya, or tawag dito, yung kapag nangyari siya, how much would be the effect on the company? Magkano magagastos or magkano yung loss in profit? Okay? Ito, example ng measure. May effect siya sa magnitude, pero walang effect sa likelihood. Okay? Ito, use of seat belts in cars. Of course, kapag na-aksidente ka, di ba, sometimes yung damage would be affected on whether meron kang seatbelt or wala. Normally, kapag wala kang seatbelt, syempre, mas mataas yung damage. But if you do have the seatbelt, edi medyo mas mababa yung damage na masasustain ng drivers and passengers. So, in that case, yung effect of magnitude, mas mapapababa siya. Pero yung likelihood, walang effect, kasi it would still be the same, regardless na kung merong ginamit na seatbelt or wala dun sa vehicle. Okay? Kasi yung likelihood niya, it would depend on the other factors pa din, and it will be the same, regardless of merong seatbelt or wala. Ayan. Tapos meron pa dito isang example din na binigay. I can read this naman. But we'll continue on. Risk magnitude. Effect normally measured in financial terms. Severity of the risk should it materialize. Okay. Reduction in hazard risk severity will be achieved by reducing the overall impact or consequences when the adverse event occurs. And actions to reduce impact will concentrate on damage limitation at the time of the fire and cost containment after the event. Okay? Yung damage limitation, feature siya ng reputational risk management. Protect its reputation by reassuring stakeholders that the organization responded appropriately to the event. Okay? So, for example, merong particular problem na nag-arise and it affects the customers, the clients, or kung sino man na outside party, external stakeholders, organizations. So, you have to show them na responded appropriately to the event. Hindi yung parang walang pake, yung company na may nangyari na nga, may problem na, nag-arise, may naapektuhan na third party, pero parang walang pakialam yung business. Parang profits lang talaga yun yung naging normal na assumption. Parang profits lang ang gusto nila. Parang wala silang pakialam sa welfare ng kanilang mga clients, customers, ganyan. Okay, so ayan. Have to make sure, kailangan ipakita na the organization responded appropriately. Kunwari, normally sa cars, di ba, yung kapag may na-discover sila na something faulty in the production of cars, nagre-recall sila nung mga vehicles. Although issued na, possible pa rin kasi na later on na-discover nila na there's something wrong with it. Like, I think a few years back, merong vehicle make and model na madalas na involved sa accidents. Okay? So, pinaimbestigahan, syempre, bakit itong particular na model na to, ito yung madalas na involved sa accident. So, what's wrong with it? Tapos, of course, yung mga drivers, sinasabi naman nila na they did press on the brake, pero instead of stopping the vehicle, mas lalo nag-accelerate or kung ano man, ganyan. So, ayan, it's a kind of, serious situation. So, what they did is they recalled every vehicle that was sold. Tapos, I'm not sure if what they did is to repair or check it, or they simply released a new, revised or new manufactured model. Okay. Something like that. Okay. So, ayan. Kumbaga, if there's already such a situation, have to respond accordingly. Yeah. Organizations will also need to be concerned with cost containment. And cost containment following an event is usually based on BCP, Business Continuity Plan, a disaster recovery plan, DRP, that the organization put in place before the incident occurred. Okay? Kapag meron kasing BCP saka DRP, the organization will be in the best position to ensure that the overall cost of the incident is kept as low as possible. Kasi kumbaga, na-consider na nila before pa man siya mangyari. Ano? And in that case, since na-consider na nila, they already put figures on the event, yung cost containment. Itong containment, parang ibig sabihin na niya is, how could we lower the amount of resources na iaalat natin dyan kung sakaling mangyari yung risk na yan. Okay? And being able to consider that before the event occurred, edi mas maganda kasi nga, meron ka ng controls in place then to lower your obligation or responsibility. Syempre, you have certain actions that you have to take, yun nga, appropriate response to the situation. Kasi kung pababayaan mo yan, di ba, yung in-ignore mo lang yung problem, so di ba, on the perception of the customers, diba? It would damage your reputation if you do that. So you have to respond accordingly, okay, to the situation. Okay. And then you have your hazard risk, and could include fraud, health and safety, property protection, efficient operations of IT systems, and tapos ito yung mga key dependencies, firm risk scorecard ulit yung ginamit. So under financial, availability of funds, correct allocation of funds, internal control to avoid fraud, liabilities under control, bad debts, and pensions. Management, liability management. And then you have under infrastructure, people skills and experience, premises, PPE, IT hardware and software, communications, and transport. And then reputational, brand expansion, public opinion, regulators' enforcement action, corporate social responsibility. Marketplace, regulatory requirements, health of world or national economy, product development, and competitor behavior. Okay? And main focus of managing hazard risk will be on loss prevention. Okay? Tapos damage limitation and cost containment. Okay, at the end of the day, itong tatlong to, ang main point is to lower the cost to the company kung sakaling mag-materialize yung risk. Okay? More efficient and cost-effective. Reducing the severity of an incident, loss control in an organization. Okay? Control both the likelihood and impact when a hazard risk materializes. Loss control should be considered loss prevention plus damage limitation plus cost containment. Okay, so bali yung tatlong yan, it goes hand in hand, magkakasama talaga sila. Okay? Appropriate pre-planning of post-loss actions can be undertaken. Again, if you consider it before it happens. So, kumbaga napag-isipan mo na kung anong gagawin mo, how are you going to deal with it, and due to that, you can lower the amount of loss that would be suffered by the company kapag nangyari siya. Ayan. Further definition, loss prevention, concerned with preventing the losses occurring or at least reducing the likelihood of losses occurring. Okay, so more concerned with reduction ng risk likelihood. Tapos yung damage limitation, reducing the amount of damage that occurs when the hazard event materializes. This is more of reduction in the impact of risk. Okay. Tapos yung cost containment, minimizing the impact of the loss on an organization by ensuring that costs associated with adverse hazard event are reduced to a minimum. So in a way, reduction then in the impact of risk. Okay. So techniques for loss prevention will vary according to the type of hazard risk. Okay, syempre depende pa din. Risk to buildings, anong pwedeng gawin? Elimination of sources of ignition and the control, containment, segregation of flammable or combustible materials. This is to avoid fire. restrictions on smoking, other actions to reduce hazardous behaviors by persons using the buildings. Yeah. Tapos for fraud and theft risk naman, loss prevention techniques, separation of responsibilities, di ba? Magkaiba yung may hawak ng pera, sa nagre-record ng pera, sa nagde-disburse ng pera, sa, nagko-collate ng mga reports. Involved ang pera. And then you have your security tagging, sino lang pwedeng pumasok sa particular offices, especially sa finance department, diba, kung saan nandun yung pera, sino lang pwedeng pumasok sa cash vault, sino lang pwedeng, mag-handle ng cash. And then, pwede rin ang pre-employment screening, pagkakatiwalaan ba yung tao na ilalagay mo dyan. Okay? Okay, next we have damage limitation, parang, furtherance, example, to prevent fire pa din ito, you have your sprinkler systems, fire segregation within buildings, use of fire shutters, well-rehearsed arrangements in place to remove, segregate, or otherwise protect valuable items. Okay? Tapos another, accidents at work, ang prevention mo or damage limitation, first aid arrangements, tapos medical facilities, specialist treatment facilities, especially kung yung company nyo deals with hazardous materials or hazardous chemicals, diba? Have to provide the facility to address that. Okay, and then cost containment, need to contain the cost of the event. Arrangements for salvage and arrangements for decontamination, especially items that have suffered water or smoke damage. Okay? Tapos you have your specialist recovery services set out in a BCP, Business Continuity Plan. Ayan. Ang iniiwasan kasi ay ito, increased cost of operation. Normally, di ba, kunwari nagkaroon ng fire. So, na-damage ang production area. So, magkakaroon ng, kumbaga, assumed na siya, or it's also a reality, na magkakaroon ng increased cost of operation kasi you have to set up a new production area immediately para hindi ma-disrupt yung operations, mapunan, masupply yung demand for the product din. Kasi you have your existing clientele na already, customers, di ba? And of course, kung yan ay B2B, business to business na you have your understanding, na they're going to supply them with your product, edi it's really imperative na makapag-continue agad kayo ng operation. Kaya nga merong BCP, Business Continuity Plan. Okay? Tapos, yung ibang insurance policies or bank insurance companies, they have considered this in the provision of their claims or yung benefits na matatanggap ng isang company if they have insured, okay, a certain event, okay? Ayan. Yung increase in operation could be due to subcontract certain production activities, undertake manufacturing work at another site, another one of its factories. Notifying customers of the fact that faulty goods are in the marketplace and how to identify them. Ito yung product recall. Kapag merong damages or anything that could be harmful to the customer, syempre to protect them, kailangan i-recall mo yung product na yun. And sometimes, itong product recall, syempre may cost yan, nakakaakibat, Of course, you have to announce the recall. May tao ka dyan, syempre, na magmamanage ng product recall. Wages for the staff, airtime on radio and television to inform yung public, notices in newspapers or industry publications. Tapos, syempre, loss of production time for staff who must focus on the recall process. Sa halip na idiretso yung production ng product, syempre have to stop and consider ano ba yung mali dito, ano yung kailangang i-correct before we could continue or move forward. Okay? Tapos syempre yung another is yung adverse publicity. Bakit ba nakalabas yung product na yan sa market nang hindi pala maayos? Okay? So, they could lose some of their market share kapag mayroong ganyang instances. Okay? My cat. Okay, tapos itong last part, yung product recall should be designed to protect the customer from bodily injury or property damage, remove the product from the market and from production, comply with specific regulatory requirements, and syempre protect the assets of the company. Okay? So, ayun lang para dito sa video na to, again, about loss control. Okay, so that's it for this one. Thanks and bye.